Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 251, Dune, the classic 1984 space opera epic that we will be discussing tonight. With me to discuss this classic from the 80s is my friend, my co-host, the one and only, Mr. Ross Amico. Hey, Ross.
Hey, Roy. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
just rode in on my sandworm.
You just reminded me, Ross. No spoilers, but I forgot to incorporate some photos of the sandworms.
What? Well, you can do that. You can do that as I'm talking. You can find a sandworm.
Never get those secrets away.
You got to have the sandworm.
You have to. It's a must.
Anyway, what most people think of, I think, when they think of Dune.
I know, right? And that is not Dune. That is Dune.
Dune.
Anyway, welcome, Ross, and we are in the second to the last week of January of 2025. I am like blown away that the month is going that quickly, and February is almost upon us in only maybe today's in maybe 8 days. That reminds me of a Beatles song, 8 days a week.
No, please.
Anyway, I'm just trying to create a little momentum here. With that, I want to welcome to the show. I see Dennis Chevalier is joining us. Dennis is joining us from Canada. Welcome.
Hello.
I see Lou is joining us from Rhode Island. Hey, Lou. Don is joining us. Don Bethman is joining us from Delaware. Welcome, Don. And Randy Lee is joining us from Wisconsin. Hey, Randy.
That Randy's old school.
He really is. But we appreciate you tuning in, Randy. And Shari is out there. Hey, hon.
Well, she saw it in 1884. Wow. She must be Ben Gesserit.
Easy. She's had a rough day.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, hon. And she's tuning in downstairs. And I see Matt is out there. Hey, Matt. Welcome. And Matt is joining us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
My weirding ways. My weirding module.
And I also see Brennan is tuning in, and he's joining us from Massachusetts. Welcome, Brennan.
Oh, you only ran it 5 times, Brennan.
Yeah, but who's counting?
That's good, though, because it gives me time to take a few notes.
Yeah, there you go.
So Arrakis here, Dune had to be a nice antidote to the 0 degree temperatures that we had here this week.
Oh my goodness, Ross! It was
nice to escape to the deserts of Chihuahua.
It was so cold.
Of Arrakis, yes.
Now, with all that said, did you see this movie in the theater?
I did, back in '84. Yeah.
Now, my other question to you is, before I go down that route, did you read the book?
Yes, I read it twice.
Okay.
The first time I read it, Kyle MacLachlan said he read it when he was 14, and I probably read it around that time myself. But we always talk about it. Yeah, even though it was only a few years, technically, literally a few years before the movie came out. At that in that era of your life, that stage of your life, it's so long. You know how like 3 years is like 20 years.
Oh, absolutely.
You're a kid, so so much time had kind of passed that I kind of found it, not incomprehensible, but pretty disjointed when I saw it in the theater. Going back now as an adult, having reread the book a few years ago, about a year before the remake or the latest adaptation, the Denis Villeneuve one that was out just a few years ago, the 2-parter, and having seen the movies more recently, I could follow it much better. But I still think it's kind of information heavy. I can imagine like having no preparation and going into that. It's like, oh my God, you get hit with so much jargon and backstory. Yeah.
Before you go on, Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold on to that thought very tightly.
Yeah.
I had never seen this movie before.
Yeah.
I remember all the hype about it. I remember Sting being in it. Sting is obviously in it. I remember, that was the talk. And also, of course, it was based on the novel. So I had two things going against me. One, I never read the book. And two, I never saw the movie before. And I wasn't
too. I don't like Sting.
and I wasn't sure what to expect, except that I know that there was a lot of hype in regards to this movie. And also, to your point, they just re-released the new version of this film just a couple of years ago, although it's probably even longer than that now. Did the second part come out? I didn't research anything on the new movies.
Oh, the new ones? Yeah, the new ones. Yeah, there were two parts, and the second one did come out.
The second one did come out. Yeah. Because I remember when there was talk about the first one coming out, and everybody was saying, rush to the theater, definitely check it out. And then there was a lot of discussion in regards to how it was and everything, and it seemed to be pretty positive. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really want to go see it because I had never seen the original. But unfortunately, the time just continued to go on, and I kind of sheltered myself from that. I know Shari, as she indicated in the comments, she saw this back in the 80s, and she really was not a big fan of the movie. But I was trying to keep an open mind to it, and you had suggested about doing it, and I thought, you know what, why not? I mean, let's embrace it. Let's go for it. Let's do it. And honestly, it totally blew me away in the sense that there was so much information that, to your point that I told you, make sure you hold on to that thought, that was coming out. And even with reading the notes and trying to, I almost thought, wow, am I slipping? and then I in the research, I was pleasantly surprised, and it actually made me feel a little bit more competent that some of the movie theaters for the release of this film actually were presenting, and I'm curious if you actually received some kind of note card with the characters and the terminology for the film. And I was like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah. That's always a bad sign when they give you the cheat sheet when you walk into the theater. but well, first of all, the reason I suggested this was because of the passing of David Lynch, and it seemed like the most relevant thing that he had done that we could do on the show. I'd love to do Twin Peaks someday, but that's an investment. You have to watch every episode to really be able to discuss that. This was the opposite problem. It was so short for the amount of information, but I thought it was the most relevant to do. But David Lynch, this is also his most mainstream project, and he didn't have the final cut for the movie.
Yeah.
The way he envisioned it, he wanted it to be he wanted it in two parts at first, but when they said he couldn't do that, he wanted it at least 3 hours. I mean, minimum. But he didn't have the final cut, and they cut it down to the 2 hour and some minutes. So they had to really think. There was the prologue that had to be spoken. There were they had the characters' thoughts overlaid on top of the dialogue, which is really confusing, and sometimes I think still unnecessary. But yeah, it was a lot of information to ingest.
Yeah, I was really, really having a hard time just trying to keep track of who was what and what was going on and what was the core of the story. And even with reading, I'll even say the cheat sheets in the sense of, going through the plot. I mean, it's something I'm going to have to probably review another 1 or 2 times, and then also go back and rewatch the movie just to absorb it. As it progressed, I became more interested in with it and was having a better understanding. But as far as what race was what and what was going on, and I mean, I got the whole thing about the spice, and it's almost like it's the essence of the universe, you know what I mean, in regards to making things happen, and that's really dumbing it down a bit. Right. So forgive me for that, but yeah. I'm just going to read a couple comments. Don said, despite its flaws and despite it not being one of Lynch's favorites, I love the film and have watched it many times over the years. I prefer it over Villeneuve's Part 1, though I did love Part 2.
Yeah, it's go ahead.
And hi to William. And William is saying
Desert Planeteers.
Yeah.
Thanks
for joining us, William. And I apologize too, because actually my contact lens broke. So I'm actually having a problem using my glasses. So folks, if I may be leaning on Ross a little bit for tonight too, in regards to the entire show.
Yeah, when you said that, it's like right before we went on, Roy says, "Oh, by the way, Ross, I'm going to be leaning very heavily on you tonight." Like, oh! Of all the days, because I was feeling really awful this afternoon. I was working this morning, and then something happened around coffee time. I think I had a really bad lunch is what it was. And I just went into such a trough. And usually I really apply myself to preparing for the show. And tonight is just like I put down a few notes.
You're ahead of me, Ross. I didn't see this in the theater. So.
But I've got some of it in my head. So we can talk a bit. It won't be any worse than usual.
William is saying, I saw it with my wife when we were first dating, and she still married me.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't a Razorhead.
There you go. That's pretty awesome.
That would be the test.
Oh, there you go. Urko 2025, excuse me, Urko 2005 is out there. Hey, Urko, saying, great that reality is back for the U.S. Oh my God. You know what? I don't know what you're talking about, and I have just deleted your comment because I don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And let's see. Matt said, Roy, did you understand that it was Patrick Stewart, the guy from... Yes, I did. I did.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead, Ross. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that of all the days for you to lean on me, but the book Dune, the Frank Herbert book that came out in 1965, was already legendary by the time I approached it. Everybody would always talk about it as far as a short list of science fiction classics. So I was like every other kid my age. I was very much interested in catching up on this stuff after Star Wars. So I probably tackled it. I was old enough to read it and kind of comprehend it. Not kind of, I could comprehend it, but it didn't sink in like it did when I was older. But I think I had more respect for it when I was younger, conversely, because when I get older now, I'm always seeing the flaws and everything. But it's a very rich book, and he really world builds, and there's all kinds of stuff in there about the political maneuverings and the sociology of with all the different groups and the ecology and everything else. So and there's a glossary in the back, of course, with all your essential Dune terms, like in A Clockwork Orange.
Right.
And so it's a very serious doorstop of a book, kind of. And it doesn't just end, it kind of goes on beyond that. There are many Dune, but at the time I read it, there were only 3 Dune books. So kind of, I always kind of group it as a trilogy, but he went on and wrote, I think 3 more before he died. And then his son took it up and wrote a bunch of Dune books, but I'm not going there. I stopped with the 3rd, and that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah. And Sherry just said, I don't remember, Ross. Did the movie follow the books or... Yeah.
The movie followed the book, but I mean, both this and the Villeneuve, I'm not sure, I'm not French, so it's like Denis Villeneuve, or I think is how you say his name, or close to it. Neither one was totally faithful to the book. My personal opinion, I think that the newer ones are more fluid as cinema. I mean, it's the kind of thing where you kind of can get lost in them. But this one, for all of its flaws, because they had to cut it down to such a short running time, there was still room for like some of those crazy Lynchian digressions and grotesque moments, meditative stuff like the water of life hallucinations and the fetus and the navigator of the Space Guild, in the tank of distilled spice or whatever it was at the beginning. We're all very Lynchian. And the fact that they had to condense all that stuff in there, it still followed the book,
right?
But there were significant changes. Some of them were Lynchian digressions, the ones he gets crammed in there, and others were the De Laurentiis, Dino De Laurentiis and his daughter, Raffaella, were the ones really calling the shots. They didn't want to let the film go too long. The studio didn't want the film to go too long, because what happens when they run into that problem is they have to take a showing out of every day, so they lose money.
Right.
You remember when films, used to have like a 6, 8, and 10 or something, showing, or 7:15 and a 10. They had to cut a showing out every day
Right.
if they would go longer. So,
which goes back to the old adage, time is money, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
that's essentially what it is.
But they were making, in this case, they had to make they were making a commercial decision. I mean, film is a commercial medium, and that's the thing. You have the clash of the artistic sensibility of the serious directors and screenwriters, and the people who do production design. They're all interested in putting on a good show, but the bean counters, they understand that the movie's got to make money. And now more than ever,
right.
So they're thinking about, like, how much money they're going to be able to generate with this thing, keeping the cost down, maximizing your profits. And so there's that kind of friction. This is the only film that Lynch really had a problem with, because he didn't have the final cut. I think there were things about the experience that he did enjoy. And Dino De Laurentiis, I mean, just to show there were no hard feelings, he produced Blue Velvet, which was the film he made after this. And that really was Lynch getting back on track, to make the kind of movies that we know him for. It was more along the lines of Eraserhead and what came after than Dune was. I mean, it's Lynch, even if you don't. If you know anything about David Lynch, you can still tell it's David Lynch, even though it's a science fiction movie. I think it's hilarious that George Lucas asked him to direct Return of the Jedi.
I couldn't believe that, Ross. I just came across, I had no clue about that. So I was very, very surprised when I saw that. And he basically, I guess he turned him down and just said, it's your thing, right?
Yeah. He said he had next to no, he didn't say this right to George's face, I don't think, but recollecting it, he said he had next to no interest in doing, or absolutely no interest, something like that, in doing Return of the Jedi. I wonder what he would have done with it.
I know, right? I think it would have been a totally different take. Can you imagine?
But you know how George Lucas would have been. He would have had such control over the whole thing. But I'm sure there would have been some oozing creatures in it.
Well, it probably would have been just like Dune all over again in regards to the creative control, because really, as you were saying, David Lynch didn't really have any. I mean, he didn't have the final say on the final cut. It was they were, Dino De Laurentiis and his daughter were really calling the shots on this.
They would have found some weird little chicken or a fetus or something under a steam radiator in the back of the Millennium Falcon or something. It would have been really weird. But but that was before, Dune. That was Return of the Jedi was 1983.
Right.
Dune was the next year. And this was, and apparently Lynch had never even heard of Dune. And it was pitched to him, and he read the book, and he loved the book. Mm-hmm. So he said, yeah, I'll do this. But in retrospect, he considered it a sellout. He said there were what do they say? Red lights. There were, he had premonitions the whole time. There were little warning signs that this was not going to turn out well, right, and he shouldn't have done it. So, but he got to work with a lot of the people he worked with later in other movies and television shows. And in fact, the one guy who plays the guard for the Harkonnens is Jack Nance, who was in Eraserhead, the lead in Eraserhead, who was kind of the Lynch good luck charm that turned up in all of his things after that, Twin Peaks, and any number of other things. There were a few the Twin Peaks cast members in there. Yeah,
I saw that, including Kyle MacLachlan.
Kyle MacLachlan, right? This was his film debut, even though he'd been an extra in another movie, but this was his big debut. And they weren't friends yet, so it wasn't like nepotism. He just he was in theater in the Pacific Northwest. He was in Washington, and Lynch himself came from, I think, Montana. Was it? He hails from somewhere out there, so they kind of had that Northwestern thing going,
right?
And it wasn't Oregon. I think it was Montana. But anyway, so they kind of hit it off and became good friends. And Kyle MacLachlan was in a lot of Lynch stuff after that, notably Twin Peaks, but also Blue Velvet. And he was still briefly in Fire Walk with Me, I think, the Twin Peaks movie, which I didn't care for.
Mm.
But and then also Big Ed from Twin Peaks. What's his name? He played the head of the Fremen there.
Oh, yes.
Everett McGill. Everett McGill.
Yes. I
Yeah,
immediately recognized him because he played a character called Killifer in License to Kill, the James Bond movie. The one, it was the second Bond film with, my goodness. My God, his name is
Daniel Craig or with
no, this was in
oh
1989.
so Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton, thank you. Yeah, I immediately recognized him. He was also in the I think the movie They Live Under the Stairs or something. It's like a horror film. So yeah, I picked him out. In fact, I even said to Sherry, I said, I think that's Killifer from License to Kill. And then I was, immediately going to the phone and I'm like trying to, check the name, figure out what character he was.
Yeah.
And then I cross-referenced it and sure enough.
He has
Before I go on, go ahead.
okay.
I just
No,
want
he
to
has
say
a distinctive face, but did he have the beard in the James Bond movie or not?
no, he did not.
Yeah, he doesn't have it in Twin Peaks either, but you still pick him out. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say hi to Jeff Rubel. He's joining us from Utah. Welcome, Jeff. And Brennan said, I read all 6 books. They got weirder as they went along. The overarching story really ended with the 4th one. And let me see. Matt saying Lynch would have destroyed it and made the best Star Wars ever.
At the same time.
William is saying the inhaler and Blue Velvet may give you a hint of the vision of Star Wars. And Don is saying, I always wondered why Lynch thought about Jakovokit's 1970s attempt at Dune. Yeah, you know what? Hold that thought too. I'm saying hold that thought a lot tonight, but I was reading about this also. There was an attempt to actually make Dune early in the early 1970s, and I guess they had the rights for a long time, but it just didn't happen. And then he wound up dying, and then the rights, I guess, went back.
Well, yeah, what happened was, Alejandro Jodorowsky is a Chilean filmmaker who's best known for his acid western El Topo, which was shot in Mexico. Very trippy stuff. His movies are very trippy, but none of them would have even approached the trippiness of Dune had he made Dune. There's a whole documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune. Jodorowsky with a J, by the way. I'm just pronouncing it. I'm just assuming it's like an H sound, because even though the name itself sounds like it's Slavic, he's Hispanic or Latin or whatever, so it'd be Jodorowsky. But it's called Jodorowsky's Dune, and it was made, I don't know, about 10 years ago. And he tells the whole story about what went on with the making of that. And they went and interviewed all the people that were going to be involved in it. And it's the most mind-blowing, just insane attempt to make this 14-hour adaptation of Dune. It's just no studio would back it. But he had all these people lined up. He had Salvador Dali lined up as the emperor. He had Orson Welles agreed to come on as Harkonnen.
Yes.
He had gotten Mick Jagger, and it was just crazy. Pink Floyd was supposed to do the music.
Pink Floyd and Magma, I think.
Yeah, and he lined up designers like H.R. Giger before he worked on Alien, before anybody knew who these guys were. Dan O'Bannon, who went and worked on Alien.
The special effects. And
you realize, and this was all in the early 70s. You realize it's kind of like John Carter. Everybody's, John Carter of Mars, the Edgar Rice Burroughs thing.
Yep.
By the time everybody saw that, or they said, "Oh, this is a ripoff of everything else," but you find out that it came first, and everybody ripped off John Carter. Dune is like that, the book itself, but very much the Jodorowsky version of it. For as hallucinatory as it would have been, and totally, I'm sure, nonsensical. You would have had to drop so much acid to even get anywhere near what he was trying to say with his Dune. But everybody involved with it went on to work on Alien and Blade Runner and Fifth Element, and it just like everybody who was involved with it just went on to create the modern science fiction movie that you and I love.
Right.
So,
and that's the irony, like you said. It's like people are thinking it was a ripoff of, it was. Let me rephrase. It was ripping off the things that we love, and here the things that we love were ripping it off.
Right. Well, you think, oh, another desert planet or whatever,
Right.
you know, for this. But yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend if you're at all interested in science fiction movies at all, like the ones we love from the 80s and 70s and 80s. You got to watch that documentary. It's available on Prime, but if you Google it, you might be able to find it free on the internet. So, and it's not long. I think it's about 90 minutes, and it's really, really entertaining and frustrating because you wish you had made this movie.
I want to say hi to Martin. Martin's joining us from New York. Welcome, Martin. Good to see you out there. Don't worry about being late. We're glad you can make it. Also, I want to say hi to Catherine Speck. She says, "Hey guys, Happy New Year! Welcome to the Golden Age."
Yeah, well.
And then also, let's see. Don is saying his Holy Mountain is insane. Love it.
Yeah, it's another one of his cult films. Yeah.
And then Sherry said, I kept saying to Roy, whoever made up this movie must have been on LSD. Lots of laughs.
Yeah. If you think the Lynch version is weird, no, we wouldn't have survived the Hodorowski version. It was insane.
Oh, that's so funny.
But such a visionary. The attempt is so heroic. It's so foolhardy. It's so quixotic. It's like Don Quixote.
A la Mancha.
Yeah, I just can't believe. I just sold all her sci-fi paperbacks. Yeah, I still have the Dune paperbacks I read back then. In fact, that's how I reread it. The LSD is the spice. In the Hodorowski version, I think the LSD was.
He's right. It probably was. Interesting too for this 1984 version, which was shot began production in March of '83. By the way, some considerations as far as actors for this movie were Tom Cruise, Kevin Costner, Lewis Smith, Zach Gilligan, Michael Biehn, Kenneth Branagh, and also Val Kilmer. Just to name a few. Yeah.
I thought I read that maybe Val Kilmer is the front runner. I found it fascinating that they pitched it to David Lean at a point, that they wanted David Lean to do it because the Frank Herbert, the guy who wrote the book, claimed that Lawrence of Arabia was such an influence on the formulation of the book, and Lean had directed Lawrence of Arabia, so they were hoping to get him, Robert Bolt, the screenwriter. And at that time, Patrick McGowan was connected.
Wow.
They wanted to get Patrick McGowan and the guy who played Baron Munchausen, John Neville. Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
It was going to be Harkonnen. I can't imagine what it looked like. But the guys that they wound up with in this movie, or in the movie we got, and I'm jumping tracks here. But I what a cast that this.
Oh my God! Yeah.
It's amazing cast. Everybody in this movie was in everything. Well, and then Max von Sydow turns up in the scene, the one scene there.
Just to give everybody a glimpse of some of the folks that were in this movie, since Ross brought it up. So that was a great lead-in. Thanks, Ross.
Yeah. So it's a really smooth segue.
Yeah. Francesca Annis.
Oh, yeah. What's her name? Is it Francesca Mangana? Isn't it?
No, it's Annis, Annis.
Oh, okay. That's the other one. Yeah. It
was as Lady Jessica. There she is. Kyle MacLachlan. Leonardo Tomino.
She's British. Yeah, the other one was the Italian. Yeah, even though she has an Italian name. What's that? Yeah, like Kyle MacLachlan, right?
Yep. And then you have Leonardo Cimino. He was the doctor, the Baron's doctor. He's in the middle photo.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Dourif. He's on the extreme right.
Well, that's isn't. Oh, isn't that Kenneth McMillan there? In the middle? He played was he the guy on Rhoda?
Oh, he might have been.
Yeah. And then the guy on the right there, isn't that?
That's Brad Dourif.
Okay. I was very surprised to find Gene Stockwell turned up in it.
Yeah, he's down a ways a little bit, but I
actually
Jose Ferrer was in it. He's playing the Emperor.
Yeah, I really felt like he phoned it. I was great to see him, but I really felt like he phoned it in. I don't think he knew. I think he knew less about Dune, Roy, than you did. He really looked. Looked like he was just doing the lines. Yeah,
I'm in it for the money.
absolutely. His son worked with Lynch on Twin Peaks, though. It occurred to me.
Miguel.
Miguel
Yeah.
Ferrer. Yeah.
He was actually in Miguel Ferrer was in Star Trek 3 also too.
Ah,
So there's the Star Trek connection indirectly there anyway. And there is Star Trek connections. We'll come back to that later. Linda Hunt played what is it? As the Shadat Mapes. She's the housekeeper.
Right. She was the servant there. Yeah.
Yep. Freddie Jones with Sting in that photo. He played Torif Hawat. I'm gonna butcher these names, so forgive me.
Yeah. I don't remember half of it anyway. I see him in writing,
Right. Richard Jordan is
Oh,
Duncan.
yeah. Yeah. Now, and that character, they just kind of, spoiler alert, but they kind of just kill him off in the movie. And they do that in the newer one too. But he comes back in the later, and he's in the other books. But they just he didn't have much of a part in this movie.
No, he was very brief.
Yeah.
There's Kyle MacLachlan. And then he's Paul. Virginia Madsen is the princess on the extreme right.
Yeah, and they filmed her intro very late in the game to kind of so they could delete a lot of that information from the movie. Just front load it, get it out there. Yeah.
Savannah.
Oh, that's Savannah Mengar. So that's Dino De Laurentiis's wife.
Okay.
Yeah, Sylvana Mangan. That's not to say that she only got it because she was his wife. She was these were big actors in other movies.
No, and she was really
she had
good.
A career. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she definitely did a great job.
Yeah.
Everett McGill that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And as the Baron. Oh boy.
Oh, there's Kenneth McMillan there.
That guy was asking for it.
Yeah.
We were joking throughout the movie about that. There is
there's Jack Nance.
Jack Nance, yeah.
Eraserhead himself. Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's Sian Phillips as Reverend Mother.
Oh, Sian Phillips. Yeah, she was well, no longer, but she was Peter O'Toole's wife at the time that he made Lawrence of Arabia. Long since divorced at that point, but yeah.
And then I'm going to butcher his name, Jurgen.
Oh, Jurgen Prochnov, yeah.
Yep.
Who was in Das Boot. Yeah. And other things since. I think he was in Troy and a number of other things.
There's Paul Smith.
He was unrecognizable. I didn't realize that he's the guy who played Hamidu in Midnight Express and Bluto in the Popeye movie.
Would never, ever would recognize them.
I know.
Now, how about those two guys in the middle? They look a little familiar, don't they?
Patrick Stewart and Dean Stockwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, Patrick Stewart was not well known when this movie was that he was in things. I mean, he was in Excalibur and he was
Life
in
Force.
That
wasn't even out yet. That was coming out in 85. This was 84. This was released.
So it was pre Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Yeah.
But it turned out that both Kyle MacLachlan and Paul Smith were fans. They knew him from his stage work.
Okay.
So that was kind of nice that he got that reception when he walked on set, that actually two people knew who he was.
Yeah. And I mean, Patrick Stewart, I mean, you're going back to like 1966 when he was, he would have been 26 years old when he became a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company. I mean, very classically trained, very well respected theatrical actor. I mean, so yeah, it's nice that he.
Yeah. I guess Lynch had seen him on stage at some point when they were casting or something, and he was kind of disappointed when Patrick Stewart showed up without the makeup because he looked totally different than he had.
He thought he was a lot older.
Yeah,
I know. And think about it, Patrick Stewart at this point in his career, he would have been about when he was cast in this film. He would have been maybe about 43 years old, if that, maybe 42, because I think his birthday is July 13th of 1940. So this was shot in March of 83. So yeah, he would have been 42. So very young Patrick Stewart there.
And he got to have his long hair. I didn't know if you noticed or not on the back. They let him grow his hair.
Yes.
That was kind of strange, but
Dean Stockwell, of course. We know him, and he was well known for. He was a child actor, which I
Yeah.
remember hearing about that. And
The
he
boy with the
also
green
had been
hair.
acting for
Yeah.
like seven, for 7 decades.
He was in Kim with Errol Flynn.
Oh,
That's how far back. That's how far back he goes. You know, it's like 1950 or something.
And of course, he's well known for Quantum Leap, opposite Scott Bakula.
Right.
I actually had the opportunity to I didn't meet him, but I saw him because after he retired, well, he retired from acting. He was having some health issues and he was doing the convention circuit for a few years. And I think Scott Bakula was kind of looking out for him because I think they were really pretty, they were pretty tight friends. And he looked like he was in rough shape, but he very approachable, very nice. And, sadly, again, he's since passed. Sting, again, we have with Jose Ferrer.
Right.
And Max von Sydow.
Yeah. Now, okay. Yeah, Max von Sydow shows up. Of course, he seemed like he was around forever because he was in all the Ingmar Bergman movies in the 50s and 60s, and he was in The Exorcist. And I think that's part of the problem, though. He always had a little bit of an older look, but they gave him that makeup in The Exorcist, so everybody thinks that he was already like 100 when he made The Exorcist. But I did the math, Roy. He was 55 when he made this.
Wow.
He was younger than us, of course.
Wow, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody is.
Yeah.
Alyssa Witt, and she was playing Paul's younger sister. Now she's the one that's almost like the prodigy.
Yeah. And you know what? They really shortchange her in the newer films. So,
oh, really?
So Lynch gets a plus for her inclusion in this and making her so creepy.
And then, of course, Sean Young, who I didn't recognize that was Sean Young. I was like, I know this woman, I know this actress, but I couldn't place her. And it was an interesting backstory about this too, because I guess she was supposed to audition, and then something happened with her agent. The agent didn't convey it, and essentially, it was almost like she blew off Lynch and Dino De Laurentiis, and somehow they wound up on the same flight heading to go back to Los Angeles. And I guess Dino De Laurentiis saw her on the plane and said to Lynch, she's got to be an actress. And I guess they approached her, and then she said she wasn't who she was. And then it pretty much came out that there was a big misunderstanding. And after they landed, they had the camaraderie, so to speak, discussing everything for the film. So,
well, I was watching this and I said, who is that? I said, it can't be Sean Young, could it? And then at the end, it was Sean Young. And I thought, boy, how did Sean Young get to be in every movie in the 80s?
Well, I know she did Blade Runner. She was in this movie Dune. Do you remember No Way Out? She was in that.
Yeah. She was in a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Fatal Ace Ventura. That's going into the 90s.
Oh, really? She was
Fatal Instinct. But yeah, and she was only 23 years old when she did this movie, Ross. That's crazy. Oh,
wow.
And then, of course, I'll come back to that. I wanted to hold on a second.
Oh yeah, the sandworms.
The sandworms. I wanted to do that, but hold on.
Yeah. You're saving those? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'll show them. I'm going to bring them up.
You can do what you want to do with it there.
I'm just having a little bit of tech issues tonight. Go figure.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I didn't jot down as many notes as I would like. I was just kind of counting on having it in my head. But this reminds me, because I would have totally forgotten it. It would have been a sin against sci-fi that Carlo Rambaldi did the mechanical effects for this film. And Carlo Rambaldi, who did E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think he worked on that. And what else did he do? Did he work on Kong? I know it was in the suit. It was Rick Baker, but I think he might have worked on the animatronics with Kong also, the 76 version.
That's kind of cool. Wow. Yeah.
You'll have to look that up.
That's
see if my memory is correct.
Celebrating 50 years next year, Ross. There you go. The worms.
Yeah, and they really do a good job on the new one with the worms, but I kind of liked them in this one too. I mean, it was kind of silly when they were riding them with the back projection and everything, and the green screen or what have you. But it was, and the orange filter, everything was orange all the time. But
exactly.
Anybody who likes Dune wants to see the worms. So that's what you think when you think Dune.
You think of the worms. I want to go back to some of the comments that came through. Let me see here, just to catch up. Don said, I love how they show the cast during the end credits. Yes, that was a nice touch, Don. I thought that, I agree.
Yeah.
William is saying, I love the music during the end credits. Jeff Rubel saying, does anyone know what is considered the best cut of Dune? There have been a handful of edits. Interesting about that, and Ross will probably be able to shed some light on it. I guess they added, when it was on television, there was different things that were added. And I think that from what I read, David Lynch was pretty much perturbed by some of these adaptations, that he actually had his name removed. And I guess he used a pseudonym.
Yeah. Well, Alan Smithy is always the name that they give when the director bails out. They just put Alan Smithy on the film, directed by Alan Smithy. He claimed that the only one that he wanted to be connected to, even though he hated it, was the theatrical cut. But yes, to your point, it has been re-edited a few times for television. You remember when they showed Superman on television? They would break it up over 2 nights and add all the extra footage. And sometimes when they show, you know what it is. You've seen enough movies. Remember when there was like ABC Movie of the Week?
Oh, absolutely. I used to love those versions because you would actually get to see deleted scenes or scenes that that didn't make it into the theatrical to the theater. I mean, especially with the Star Trek movies, you got to see extra footage from the motion picture, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and then what happened was then there were the director's cuts that had that. But my understanding is that, well, there was, I guess, about maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe, I don't know if it was 4 hours, but at least 3 hours, maybe it was 4 hours of footage that was actually filmed that David Lynch did, but it I guess disappeared, or there's no evidence of it, and he wanted nothing to do with doing any type of commentary. He was just really I guess felt that this was like a dark part of his career, from my understanding.
And like I said, he didn't want to be connected with any of the other cuts. If you're a fan, knock yourself out. I think there is a set out there with all the cuts on it, if I'm not mistaken. But he only, the authorized version for him was the one that was in the theater. Like you said, though, he never wanted to talk about it or anything. But apparently toward the end of his life, in an interview, he had mentioned that he had been approached to do a director's cut of the film. And he had been, I guess, couple of times, and he had absolutely no interest, but he said, he kind of mused it would be interesting to go back and look at it again. He couldn't guarantee that he would want, that there would be enough footage there for him to really realize what he wanted to do with the movie, but he would be curious to see what it looked like after all these years.
Right.
Because like me, he hadn't seen it, for 40 years or something. So
catch up a little bit more. Yes, Life Force with Matilda May.
There you go. Patrick Stewart's greatest role. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see. I would have preferred to have been Big Ed. Promote the gas barn as my energy source rather than the Freeman Spice Force. Okay.
Yeah. He had the gas station in Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, which I have not seen. Yes, and William is referencing whatchamacallit. Oh my God.
Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, Dean Stockwell. Dean Stockwell was a recurring character in Battlestar Galactica, in the new Battlestar Galactica, as well as Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, thanks for including that, William. Appreciate it. And Don said Alyssa Witt has been on The Walking Dead. So that's cool to know. Let me see here. Martin is saying the universe runs on Old Spice. And Don said the long extended edit with the illustrations and narration. And Jeff Rubel is saying motion pictures deleted scenes made it better than a sleeping pill. And William's saying the problem with the TV versions was the pan and scan.
Scan right back in the day when we all had the square boxes.
We'll definitely call you Bill, William. Sorry about that. Going forward. Thanks, Bill.
And then the other thing was, it was fun to see Superman walk through all of his, all Lex Luthor's, traps, security measures in his lair and stuff like that, with the freezing and the fire and all that stuff. A lot of times when they added that stuff, it totally busted the wrecked the dramatic flow of the movie because he put all these extra, scenes with Lex Luthor and Otis goofing around.
Right, exactly.
But it was fun to see it. It was fun to see it, even though it would not be the version I want to see all the time.
Yeah.
So,
but it's nice actually having access to those because it.
Well, now
now it's just like, you know what, just all you have to do is like go online and you can go on YouTube and you can pretty much get this information or get these videos. But back in the day, I mean, we would have to wait for it to be on television, and then even with that, it was like you had like one or two passes at it, and they wouldn't even rerun it maybe again.
Yeah.
So,
and they always broke the Superman right at the helicopter rescue. that was when you had to like wait for the night, the second night. It's like, all right. Anyway, but the thing, but
that's his wigs, yeah,
right. The thing is with the different versions, though, also it's a problem nowadays. I mean, I understand you can stream things. I'm a very much a physical media guy, so I'm always trying to get I'm still back on DVDs. Everybody else is Blu-ray, 4K, and all this other stuff. But just to get sometimes the theatrical cut of The Exorcist or Amadeus. I mean, Amadeus, I think, has been reissued or is going to be reissued for its 40th anniversary, or was anyway. It's got the original theatrical cut in glorious 4K now. But for a long time, all you could get was the stupid director's cut, and I hate that. And then sometimes I'll pull the things down from the streaming platforms, and you can't get them anymore, and all you can see is one version.
Right.
So don't mess with our collective memory of what these movies were.
Well, it goes back to Star Wars, Ross. I keep saying, and now it's next year. The 50th anniversary of Star Wars is going to be coming up May of next. What is it? May
77 though. It's 20.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right. What am I saying?
You're thinking of the Demi quincentennial or whatever, the American 250.
Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. I was thinking of Star Wars. I'm jumping the gun. Next year's the 50th anniversary of whatchamacallit. But
Jaws.
with regards to Star Wars, I was going to say May of 27. Yeah. I mark my words. They're going to find the original. I shouldn't point, but they're going to find. They're going to come up with the Blu-ray of Star Wars as it was back in the day when it was released in May of 77 with all the original scenes, no added footage, no enhanced special effects, and it'll be a limited release, and only so many people will be able to get it, and you wait. They're going to come up with it.
Oh, really? Well, don't do that stuff with that limited release stuff. I'm still smarting from the last Indiana Jones soundtrack that they didn't widely release.
Did you ever get that?
No, I did not. And I'm furious.
Wow.
Because they said it was supposed to be released, on a certain date, but it wasn't made clear that you had to pre-order it, way ahead of time. And then by the time I found out about it, they were already on eBay for thousands of dollars. So, and apparently they're available or were available. I don't know if they still are in a box set with the other preceding 4 scores. But I already have the box with the other 4, and I'm not going to shell out for another. Yeah, forget it. It'll turn up eventually.
That's the hook, Ross.
Yeah, I hated the movie anyway. I just wanted for the score.
I seem to remember that discussion in June of how many years is it? Is it 2 years already?
It's just not long enough. I can't distance myself enough from that movie.
When was? Oh, yeah.
Was it a Christmas release? Was it
No, they released it in June.
Was it in the summer? I don't even remember anymore. I think that was the last time I was at an AMC.
That was in.
Oh no, that's not true. I went to see Megalopolis.
Okay.
It's just not at the same theater.
I think it was in June of 22. If I'm not mistaken. I think it was June 22. So it's coming up on 3 years this June.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Yeah.
You can't make it up.
They can't make it up to me, I'll tell you that. You couldn't leave it alone.
I'm actually wrong, Ross. It was June 30th of 2023. So it's coming up on 2 years. I thought it was longer.
Okay.
It seemed longer. Oh well, my mistake. My bad. Bill said somewhere I have an original release tape of Star Wars. Yeah, you know what, Bill? I think I actually do myself somewhere. It's buried in
Yeah.
videos, but it would be
Yeah.
nice if they would actually release that in high definition. But you consider yourself lucky if you do have that copy, though, because they are
Yeah.
few and far between.
I found mine the other week. Oh, Christmas, around Christmas, going through the decorations. I have, I never took them out of the shrink wrap. I have the original trilogy in that release.
Do you really?
Yeah. So when I want to retire, I'll just put that up on, put it up on eBay.
Oh, Matt's blood pressure is going up. He's like, "Who cares, Roy? We could collectively write a screenplay for a superior movie today."
by the time I put my my original trilogy up on eBay, though, Disney will have released its high definition original trilogy, and my fortunes will.
They'll snap you in half like a number 2 pencil.
No. The bottom.
There goes Ross's retirement.
The bottom drops out of the market. I
So
knew that
close.
bubble was going to burst.
just as Ross is watching for the time to go on eBay, then the movie release comes out. He misses by like 60 seconds.
There'll always be somebody like the Hague out there that'll want the VHS instead, though. I'll milk him.
Oh shoot! Anyway, that's all good.
Yeah. So the ways that Lynch, I thought, was superior to the newer versions.
Yeah.
Because everybody jumps on the bandwagon, they like the newer versions, and I think the newer versions are very good, but they kind of smooth over some of the stuff that was actually better in the or more successful, I thought, in the Lynch version. For one thing, I think even if you don't understand what the hell's going on, if you get thrown in the deep end, you get more of a sense of the political situation, which is really kind of a backdrop in the newer movies. It's kind of central to the story, though, and I think it's a little more successfully conveyed, even if people don't understand it. I like the fact that the aristocratic families all have the uniforms from like that evoke kind of the imperial era.
Yes.
Again, everybody's just kind of pretty loosey goosey in the new ones. They're and everything's very beige. It's very beige in the new Dune. I think that the things that I think, like I said, Alia, the younger daughter, I think that was better handled in the Lynch version because she kind of gets smoothed over, I think, in the newer one. But the things that are very Lynchian, things I don't think worked as well, like those shields that they do, are very clunky. And those were not early CG; those were rotoscope. They actually hand animated those things. I thought those kind of got in the way a little bit. I don't know whose decision it was to do it like that. The rain at the end was kind of ridiculous. With they kind of smoothed over, because the book is more morally ambiguous. Paul kind of overshoots. It's not just that he's the leader. You know what I mean? He's a very complex character.
Yeah,
situation. It's not as black and white as they show it in them. They kind of made it a good versus evil, defeat the black hats, defeat the evil imperialists, and it's like it's a parable of rebellion against the oppression kind of thing. But it doesn't show that the oppression always continues. There's always corruption and even if somebody has positive motives, there's always going to be some kind of conflict going there. But this just ends with like, yay, we beat them, and then it starts raining, and that was just a very Hollywood ending, a very Dino De Laurentiis ending, perhaps. I don't know. I would have liked if Dino had gone all out and done like a Flash Gordon version of it and camped it up.
Well, I was just going to say, and the irony is, Flash Gordon was made 4 years before this movie actually came out. It could have gone in that direction. It would have
totally
been
ruined Dune. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They almost did it with Harkonnen, with the villain, but yeah, he's so over the top. Yeah.
I'm going. Let me see here. Bill said the rain at the end. How can that be? Because Lynch is.
Yeah.
And the Hague is out there. He said, would love to have the Star Wars original version without A New Hope in the beginning credits.
There you go. Exactly.
Bill said that his has it. So there you
go. The things that were very Lynchian were what fits in with the shields that I didn't like so much was the weirding modules. They kind of did that as a visual thing because they couldn't really. It was too abstract to just have it with the thought and they did it a little bit in the movie. When they were in the helicopter or the what do they call it, ornithopter or whatever it is, as they were flying out in the desert, and they kind of used kind of the Jedi mind trick or what have you. But they were doing it where the voice was triggering these boxes that they had to like blow things up, and that was kind of not really true to the book. But the Lynchian stuff was the kind of the dreamy stuff whenever they had the water of life or the Ben Gesserit stuff with the dripping water and and all kinds of weird stuff going on. The grotesquerie of the Harkonnens, the fetus. Did we go over all this already? The Guild Navigator kind of with the floating in the spice, but most especially the milking of the cat.
Yeah,
that was not in the book.
I'm sure it wasn't.
with the rat taped to the cat. What was going on there?
You're asking me? I thought it was a metaphor for something, Ross, but God only knows what
that
it
was strictly a Lynchian diversion, I think.
Yeah. I reflect back to Shari's original comment about LSD.
Yeah. The cinematographer, which I had nearly forgotten also, was cat was totally and it could be any cat either. It was one of those hairless cats,
John said the worms were phenomenal from a special effects point of view. Yes, they were, definitely.
Yeah. I thought they were pretty good in the day too. Yeah. So Freddie Francis was the cinematographer, and I didn't mention that. He was a pretty big deal. So another big technical coup for the De Laurentises to get this guy. He trained with John Huston and with Powell and Pressburger, the guys who did the Red Shoes and movies like that, Life and Death of Colonel Blimp and Black Narcissus. But then he when he went out on his own, he was working with Freddie Francis. First he lensed all these classics, then he started doing all these Hammer and Amicus films, and then he put the cinematography aside actually and started directing for those. So he did the Hammer and Amicus, and then he came back to be a cinematographer again for Lynch, actually, for The Elephant Man, and that got him back into lensing more movies. I mean, he did French Lieutenant's Woman. He did what did he do later in life?
I was surprised that Lynch did The Elephant Man. I did not realize.
Yeah. See, before this one, that would have been probably his most mainstream movie.
Yeah.
And that's what gave everybody the idea. Oh, this guy can make us a Hollywood movie. Let's let him do Return of the Jedi. He did The Elephant Man. Oh no, David Lynch is insane. Mel Brooks said he described David Lynch as Jimmy Stewart from Mars. Because he has this all shucks kind of demeanor, but he's very strange, obviously. Yeah.
Dude and the Devils. Oh, Timothy Dalton. There's that connection.
Yeah, I know he worked with Jack Clayton, the guy who did Something Wicked, This Way Comes.
Yep.
Yeah, because he was the cinematographer on The Innocents and Room at the Top. He worked with Jack Cardiff, who was also a superb cinematographer, but Cardiff directed Sons and Lovers, D.H. Lawrence novel. But we would know. Most of us would, unless you're a big film geek. He did French Lieutenant's Woman as a cinematographer. That is Cape Fear, the remake of Cape Fear, the Martin Scorsese version.
Oh, sure, that was in the early '90s, like 91, 92, with Robert Mitchum and
well, not Robert Mitchum. No. Well, yeah, he was in it as a cameo.
Mitchum was in it, but it was
but it was Nick Nolte and De Niro. Yeah,
De Niro.
Because in the original, I know they had cameos, but in the original it was Mitchum and Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck was in the. I think Gregory Peck had the
cameo.
The cameo, yes.
Yeah, I think they're both have cameos, but whatever. But he filmed that, and he did Glory. He won an Oscar for that. So, he was no. Cardiff is the best. Yeah, Cardiff is a real. Again, another great cinematographer that Freddie Francis worked with. But yeah, as the Hague says, in between, he was doing all these Hammer and Atticus movies. It's England, in
his downtime.
Yeah, but he must have liked it because he did a lot of them.
Right.
Gave him a chance to direct anyway. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, there was a lot of talent that was put into this film that was brought together. And I was reading even about the sets, Ross. I mean, what they had to do in order to get this all situated in Mexico. And I guess Dino De Laurentiis chose Mexico just because of the exchange rate being cheaper.
Right.
There was a savings.
The reason. Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge savings.
Yeah. And close to home. It's, now they're always having what I just see. Nosferatu. They had to go to Prague. Right. Amadeus they did in Prague. They're always shooting somewhere where they can save some money. So not that Prague isn't beautiful and photogenic. I would love to visit there, the city. I've never been to Prague. But you're not going to shoot Dune in Prague. You're going to shoot it in Mexico. They got the desert.
I think Joe's been to Joe Metz. I think Joe's been to Prague, if I remember.
Prague,
right. Yeah. Hey, May's joining us from Canada. Welcome. She said, "Hi, everybody. Just got home from work. Good to see you out there. Thanks for taking, sharing your time with us. We appreciate it." Yeah, there's a lot of history there, and it would be really cool to have that type of experience for sure.
Speaking of history, David Lynch, as I said, was born out toward the Pacific Northwest, not quite Montana, I believe. I hate to repeat it if I'm wrong, but he came to Philadelphia. He was a visual artist and wanted to study, visual art at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And he lived in Philadelphia for a number of years while he was doing that. And he thought it was such a hellish experience. He thought the city was the most bizarre place that he had ever visited. And he had stored up a lifetime worth of these horrible memories of Philadelphia that totally fueled his like nightmarish and grotesque and eerie visions that are all throughout his films. It's kind of funny though, because
so what you're saying is he was emotionally scarred by his by
Eraserhead was totally a manifestation of his experiences in Philadelphia. And I can attest to that, having lived there for 32 years. And there are all kinds of quotes, if you Google it, there are all kinds of quotes from Lynch just trashing Philadelphia.
How long was he in Philadelphia?
He was only there a few years, I think. I think he went back for some reason at a point. But he was only there for a few years, not like me. I was an idiot.
Matt says he's going to Prague too.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to the Soulcraft joining us. And the Soulcraft is saying, "I so wish the Jodorowsky version had been made, even if animated from the storyboards, but I love this version of the story."
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
And if you're just joining us and you don't know about the documentary, you probably do. But I'm going to say it anyway, because I didn't see your name out there earlier. There is a documentary, Jodorowsky's Dune, that is a must see if you're interested in Dune. But I take it just from the suggestion that you'd want to see it in whatever form. You probably know all about it already anyway.
No, it's good to put that out there, Ross. Soulcraft said, I watched a 3-hour thing about how Lynch used his Vedic beliefs. Fascinating. And Bill said, from Wikipedia, David Keith Lynch, January 20th, 1946, Missoula, Montana, U.S.
Thank you. Thanks for doing my homework for me. I kind of thought it was Montana. Yeah. I think he introduced himself as a Boy Scout from Montana. Yeah.
And John said the statues and buildings are beautiful in Prague.
Yeah.
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 No, so there you go. Very, very cool. Yeah, in regards, and I know I touched upon it before. Yeah, Dune required 80 sets built on 16 sound stages and had a total crew of 1,700 with over 20,000 extras. Oh my goodness.
Well, I felt bad last week too, because I felt like, we did Conan the Barbarian, which is another Dino De Laurentiis production. Right. But I felt like to some degree that I kind of shortchanged it a little bit, because it was another thing where I was low energy and didn't prep as hard as I could, because we talked about doing it in November or something like that. And that's when I did all of my thinking about it, and I lost all my notes and everything. And I didn't get to go back and rewatch it, but it occurred to me that watching Conan the Barbarian and now with Dune, I mean, these were really the last of their kind as far as throwing that kind of money into something with physical sets and physical effects, and where you really have big casts and you have like these big sets and sound stages where they build these things before the computer became so prevalent.
Yeah.
And they still cost a lot of money, but you're not going to get,
it's a different type of an experience.
Yeah, it's a different type. The fact that they built all that stuff for Conan the Barbarian is
it's pretty amazing.
Is amazing. Yeah,
it really is. No, you're
because, like I said last week, it's like I didn't think much of it when I saw it in the theater, but going back and watching it again, it's like, wow.
I really enjoyed that movie too. I had not seen that from beginning to the end. Yeah, I did.
Good for you. Wow. I kind of bitched about Robert E. Howard's, and I wasn't trashing Robert E. Howard. I was grousing, bitched. It's not really what I was doing. I was saying that the problem was in me, not in the writer, but I can never get into the Conan the Barbarian stories, never get into the Conan stories. Unlike Edgar Rice Burroughs, where I could devour those things, like the Tarzan books and the John Carter books. But since that time, I tried to read one of the longer ones before we did the show. In the past week, I did read a couple of them, and you know what? They're fun. They're fun. So I can't say that I can't see what people see in the Robert Howard stories now. I want to make amends for that. I don't want anybody to think that the Conan stories are trash. They're well written. Still very pulpy, but yeah.
Said I saw where they used props built for Dune in the Conan movie.
Well, there you go.
Mostly costumes. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
And the Hague said now movies cost $200 million and the people aren't even in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention was there was an interim in between the Pellucidar stories. I never read the one where Tarzan goes to the Earth's core, though. I never got to that one, but I did read the Pellucidar trilogy. Did we do one of those at the Earth's
Yes,
core?
in fact, we had as a guest on the show, and I feel so bad. We've had a lot of
we had him, yeah, for the Tarzan things, yeah.
I can't think of his name at the moment. I feel really bad about that. And
Stacy Griffin.
Yes, excellent guest and very knowledgeable, and
Scott Tracy Griffin.
Yes, thank you. Great, Ross.
Yeah, I enjoyed
our conversation. That was probably about 4 years ago that he was on the show.
A while ago, yeah. But yeah, it was anybody who likes Edgar Rice Burroughs, I'm there.
Yeah, highly recommend to check that out. Yeah, Land
that Time Forgot.
Yeah,
we forget everything. So this is the land that time forgot right here. One thing we didn't talk about was in the interim between the Jodorowsky version of Dune and then the rights reverting to, and Dino De Laurentiis buying it up, was that Ridley Scott was involved at one point, heavily involved with this, and he was going to make make the movie. And the only reason he dropped out is because there was a death in the family, and it kind of like freaked him out, and he couldn't, he just couldn't concentrate, and he had, obviously emotional things to deal with. So he walked away from the project, but he worked on it for a few years. This could have been directed by Ridley Scott. And Ridley Scott, for me, he's hit and miss, but he could have been a hit with Dune.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
So who knows, though? Instead, though, he went and did Blade Runner. He started working on that's how far back it was, because Dune didn't come out until 1984. But at the time, in 1982, he was working on Dune, and then he went over to develop and do Blade Runner in 1982. Otherwise, he would have been tied up with Dune in 1984. Yeah.
I just can't believe it's, again, I sound like a broken record with this, but this was actually produced 42 years ago. It's coming up on where it was filmed in 1983. My goodness, it's insane. It's insane. When I think of movies that that far back, I'm always thinking of when it was like 1980, 1981, and then you're thinking back to the classics of like 39 and you had The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind and the classics. And now we're actually past that, though, and that's like and we're talking in the 80s now. It's like we're let me see here. Oh, I loved Raised by Wolves. I can't believe they left us hanging like that. Literally, Marcus hanging upside down is his Jesus Christ pose. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't. Let me see if I missed anything else. I think I'm caught up here. Now, Ross, in regards to, we've been talking about David Lynch. We, went over about, different information about him. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead to the music of the movie in regards to Brian Eno, and then also, of course, Toto. And somebody out there, I think it was Matt that asked what your feelings were about Toto.
I loved him in Wizard of Oz. I think there was a Wizard of Oz, Lynch worked Wizard of Oz into Wild at Heart, kind of like built the frame on some of the iconography from the 1939 classic. And I wonder if there was some of that in this too. Not saying because of Toto, although that would have been a nice little icing on the cake, but just because of the crazy eyebrows everybody had in this movie. Yeah. It was very much like who's the actor I'm trying to think of now? Played the wizard, Mr. Matichek from Shop Around the Corner. I would know what it is at any other moment, because this is the guy I bring up all the time. Frank Morgan. He had kind of the Frank Morgan makeup going on everybody. But anyway, so what do I know about these guys? Not much. Brian Eno, I know, goes beyond the world of popular music. He does a lot of experimental stuff and electronic and other things. I don't know a lot about Toto. This is not my field. This is popular stuff. And I didn't really look. I kind of scrolled down the page and saw the stuff that they did. I was surprised, actually, the score turned out to be so, I don't want to say conventional, but so, or I don't want to say mainstream, but so kind of the form. You know what I mean? When we've moved beyond that now to the point where the scores anymore are not orchestral scores with leitmotifs and John Williams kind of, it's not like that anymore. They're things that we're going to take home and put on and listen to them at home and enjoy the listening experience through just like whatever people come up with for sound effects or play with on their computers. So in that sense, going back to this, it was surprisingly satisfying as a score for a science fiction adventure kind of movie.
I was really surprised to find out that they did the music. And this was before watching the film, you know what I mean, in regards to looking it up. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was not what I expected. Because when I think of Toto, I think of the hits that we grew up with. That
it kind of fits in with getting Queen for Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
but it wasn't campy enough,
No, not at all.
Yeah, they should have gotten Queen to do Dune.
Linda's also joining us from Canada. Welcome, Linda. saying the glaring silence, Toto.
Odo.
Soulcraft said yes, it was going to be Pink Floyd for Atreides, German band Magma for the Harkonnen.
Yeah.
Would have been a game changer, definitely.
Back on the Hodorowski. Yeah.
Those three notes, I hear college bands doing that during games. Brennan is commenting saying Lynch originally wanted Eno to do the whole score.
Yeah.
John is saying I haven't listened to the score from a newer movie in maybe the last 20 years.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Every once in a while I hear one, but it's really, to go from something where every single movie you see in the summer, was something that you want to add to your record collection to
Bill,
to one a year or one every 2 years is kind of. Do you remember, back in the day, they would have the compilation albums of like the greatest film themes of the year. Like, it used to be a thing,
Yeah.
Henry Mancini plays the classic scores of 1967 or something like that. Not anymore. We have no more, Mutiny on the Bounty or Romeo and Juliet or Lawrence of Arabia or Dr. Zhivago or The Godfather, or you hear any music from any one of these and you immediately associate it with the movie, and it makes no sense to me because it's a whole other way to make money off of a movie. I mean, people bought these things. It's chicken feed. Who cares about the music? Well, and then also, we talked about this before. It takes a long time for somebody to write music, even with copyists. You write the music, hand it off to the copyists and orchestrators, and then you got to schedule a recording session with the orchestra, and then you got to pay the musicians, and then you got to match it to the movie, and then they don't like it, and you got to change it. And now you can just do it very quickly on the, the music is always the last thing they do, and now they can do it very quickly. And they like the Hans Zimmer approach now.
Yeah,
they can deal with all the, you get like there'll be a French horn we can sample, and maybe we'll have a couple of strings, but just do something with it electronically and make a soundscape out of it. But whatever.
Bill said, when Star Wars came out, I bought the album to relive the movie.
Absolutely, that was a golden age for. Yeah, it was.
Well, and there were the two. There was the soundtrack, the story of Star Wars.
That too.
Brown did it. What was
Roscoe Lee Brown.
Roscoe Lee Brown, the narrator. Love that. I actually still have that, and it's in pristine. It's in mint condition. It's in my parents. And then there was the soundtrack for the music of Star Wars, right? I believe, wasn't there the
2-record set with the music? Set. Yeah, absolutely. I wore that out. I had to get a second one. I played it so much, but yeah, I mean, it just I don't know when it changed, but there was it is going back to the beginning of the sound era.
Yeah,
there were so many movies that we remembered the themes to them.
Yeah,
not anymore.
Not anymore.
Can anybody hum the music for the new Dune movie?
I didn't even see the new Dune movie.
Yeah. I have to say the music suited the movie, but it's just, it's not really my thing. I mean, I like to trash Hans Zimmer, but I thought he did a good job with Dune.
Dennis said, I bought the Star Wars music on cassette back in the day.
Not 8-track. I had it in every format, I think.
And Brennan said, did you ever hear the Neil Norman albums?
No. What's in relation to? I'm not familiar.
I don't know. Well,
I mean, possibly I did and just don't remember who he is, but I don't recognize the name.
Yeah. So,
Monty Norman.
Well, Bill said in the 70s, they also sold small photo books about the movie too. Yeah, those were the photo novels, Bill. Absolutely. Yeah. I wish I had one hanging around. I would actually pull. I had the Battlestar Galactica, the movie, Star Trek the motion picture. There was one for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and then there was the original series for Star Trek, the 10 photo novels that they had, and the first one was The City on the Edge of Forever. Actually, no,
Before,
not 10. It was 12. There was 12, and then they ended on Amok Time, if I remember correctly.
before the internet, of course. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. Before the okay. Before the internet, I don't remember. I bet you if I Googled it and saw the covers, I'd know what they were. But before the internet, all we had were those photo books and whatever else would turn up in Starlog or what have you. It's not like now where you can just get images.
Oh yeah,
Google images.
I mean, to have a VCR back then. I mean, I think we got our first VCR. It was sometime in the 80s, and I mean, people having VCRs back in like the mid 70s. I mean, if you're a Columbo fan, I remember. Well, again, I'll reference William Shatner. It was the episode that was. It was, I think, I don't remember the name of the episode, but the whole thing, part of his what's the word? Part of his alibi was using a videotape machine because he drugged the guy that was his alibi, and he recorded a scene out of the football play. And the guy said, "Oh, he saw it or whatever." But the point is, that was probably like a $3,000 or $4,000 VCR back then. And then now, in at least in the 2000s, before they started fading them out, you could buy one for like what, $30-$40. And now you can't even find one. Dennis is saying he still has his, which is good.
Yeah, I still use a VCR to cover all my crimes. Well, thanks for that information about Neil Norman. I'll look him up, Brennan. Yeah. I'm thinking, of course, of Miko.
Miko, there you go.
Miko covering all the movies in disco versions.
Brennan said I accidentally ripped out the single, but ended up buying the whole albums anyway. And Bill says he still has a couple of VCRs too.
You couldn't put together an album now of like greatest hits from the movies of 2024. You'd never be able to fill or you could fill it, but nobody would ever, there's nothing on it. It would just not be memorable.
I don't have a clue, and I don't want to take away from anybody out there.
No,
it's just a different era.
It's the way the movies are scored now promotes a certain kind of.
Well, and I'll even take it a step further. I mean, we were just talking about this before we went on the air. Now it's coming up on our 3 year. I mean, 3 years ago, for the folks out there that were watching the show then. Ross and I, one of the things that we did was we were, and it was a fun show too. I mean, we had our issues, but it was a lot of fun putting it together. But we did television theme songs, and it was a blast. But of course, the problem is when you're doing that on the internet, and you're on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, there's proprietary things that can happen, and we kind of got went off a few times. But with that said, I think we were disrupted maybe 5 times. So there's 5 sections of that episode. Check it out. It's March of 2022. If you want to go back to the show's page and look at the archives, but it was a lot of fun. But But my point is that with that said, television theme songs it's almost like it's a thing of the past, because what they're exactly, Dennis. The suits were on us. I think the first show I noticed that with, and this was probably in the late 90s or maybe early 2000s, was Murphy Brown, I think. If there's any Murphy Brown fans out there. But what they started doing is they started the dialogue of the show, and they would have the credits going on while the dialogue, which is, fine. But I'm not talking about, opening. I'm talking about the essential credits. And what they did was TV shows were doing this in order so that they would have, more airtime. So they did away with the themes. And when you look back, especially in those 60s, 70s, 80s, I'll even say 90s, at least the early 90s, the television theme songs that were associated with the programs. I mean, it's what we grew up with, and you immediately think of it.
Yeah, nobody knows how to write those anymore anyway. They're all like Game of Thrones. It's like Game of Thrones, Westworld, Shogun. It's all the same damn thing. It's like somebody come up with a melody instead of the constant droning.
It's just a lot. It's become a lost art. Soulcraft said Westworld has the greatest opening I've seen in a while. The whole series is done well. No, I have to say I enjoyed Westworld too.
The series is done well.
He's lots of laughs.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I didn't see the whole series. I saw the first few seasons of it, though, and it was done well.
Well, Jimmy Simpson was actually in that too, which was nice, and we had him on the show too.
Yeah,
and I would love to have Jimmy back. He's been very busy as well. Bill said, "Hey, if Mr. Ed didn't have a theme, would you know what's going on?" Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Bill. Exactly. Great example.
Not just a theme, but they had to tell us in the song.
And how about Star Trek? I mean, come on. Star Trek without William Shatner's opening narration? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's not right.
A horse is a horse, of course.
And I'll throw out Space 1999 with its amazing opening, especially for year one with Barry Gray's music.
From somebody who's not a 99 Space 1999 fan, I think that's an awesome theme.
Yeah, I mean, it's grand. And year two, I mean, Derek Wadsworth was trying to go for more of a jazz kind of. He was going in a different direction, and it's memorable. But year one, especially, I mean, my God, I mean, it is just so orchestral, I guess is the word. It just blows you away. But anyway, there you go.
There you go.
So any last thoughts, Ross? And then I'm going to go to the shout outs.
Thank you, old man. Well, I mean, we pegged this for David Lynch, and David Lynch had a very distinctive style. He had quite the oeuvre. He wasn't somebody who cranked out movies, but the movies he made really got under your skin and in your head. And, he just was one of the most individual and recognizable of American filmmakers of his generation. So, hats off to him. I was shocked that when he died. I mean, Matt had told me that he was, had emphysema and he was on oxygen, but I didn't know he was that far gone. So it was really a shock to me when he died. It was quite sudden to me anyway, but I guess, what was he, 78 when he died?
Yeah, I was going to say, Ross, he's 20 years. He just would have been celebrating a birthday, and he's 20 years older than us.
Yeah. And I can't say I liked all of his stuff equally. I remember I suffered a really bad breakup once in the early 90s. So Matt, good friend that he is, to cheer me up, the three things he did was he took me to the Mutter Museum of Scientific Oddities and Deformities in Philadelphia. We walked around the Laurel Hill Cemetery, and we went to see Wild at Heart.
Oh, there you go.
So I think that sums up our friendship right there. That some of that tough love that nearly killed me. Here, I'll cheer you up. Let's go see Wild at Heart. So,
you can always count on Matt, Ross.
Yeah. And up till that point, I thought I was a Lynch fan.
Matt is the gift that just doesn't stop giving.
One David Lynch movie I could recommend, though, if you haven't seen it, but I mean, it's probably old hat now because I'm sure everybody's seen the obituaries, was The Straight Story. The Straight Story, which is just totally unexpected, nothing too weird about it. It has Richard Farnsworth in it. And it's just a sweet movie. Made it for Disney, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's a Buena Vista picture, but it's unlike anything else in his output. I mean, I love Eraserhead. Don't get me wrong. I love Blue Velvet. Really just violently disliked Fire Walk with Me, which was the Twin Peaks movie. Love the Twin Peaks TV series. Haven't seen the new Twin Peaks. And believe it or not, I've not seen Mulholland Drive, which some people say is his best movie, and I still have not seen that. So,
yeah, no, and in fact, I was talking to Warren about that, and he was even saying that he was saying that people have said that about Mulholland Drive.
Yeah,
but we're gonna come back and revisit all this. We'll do we'll review his movies over the summer, or we'll do that, or Twin Peaks. We'll see what we're going to do. In fact, I was talking to him about that, Ross. So yeah, we will revisit him later in the year. It'll be fun. Dennis said there's a guy who does it on 3 guitars. It's amazing. Oh, he's talking about 1999.
Oh. The TP universe, Twin Peaks universe. Yeah, see, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, Blue Velvet always felt like it was. Had kind of that same feel. I didn't see Mulholland Drive, and what was the other one? Lost Highway. I didn't see, but there's one that has I can't remember which film it is. Everybody will jump on it right away. The one with Robert Blake, who has the one scene as the dwarf or whatever. He has one scene in there that's just it's classic, quintessential Lynch. If you look for it on YouTube, but I've not seen the whole movie.
Brennan said Mulholland Drive was good. I didn't understand it though.
Yeah, that's pretty much what everybody. That's your David Lynch experience there.
Yeah, and he said Lost Highway.
Lost Highway, it is okay.
Yep.
And I have to see both of those.
Don said the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of. Yeah, I kind of. Just the 1-2 punch of Wild at Heart and Fire Walk with Me kind of soured me on Lynch. But I've got to go back and see Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive. Yeah. And then his last one, what was it? The Invisible Empire? Is that what it is? The one he shot on video.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, has a lot of interesting people in the cast, but don't know anything about that one. So I've got at least 3 Lynch things to watch. Oh, it's explicitly in the TP universe. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, and I didn't see the second Twin Peaks series, the one that was on Showtime, which is supposed to be really out there. But I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Sometimes it's good when they keep one foot, when there's that tension between, what they want to do and what people expect. as opposed to just going out there and doing what the hell you want to do.
Matt saying Mulholland Drive is not his best film.
Okay. And which one do you like, Matt? Which one's your favorite?
It'll be interesting to hear.
Some people are saying, when they rank his film, but you know what?
Robert Blake, Almost Highway.
Okay.
Brennan said in his weather report.
Yeah. He would always do daffy things on the internet, in between projects.
Being creative. That's good.
And Matt would send me every one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Let's see. Brennan's saying Eraserhead is his favorite.
Yeah. Eraserhead was something else. That was kind of a conversion experience, I think, seeing that movie at a midnight movie.
Bill said Lynch left the end of season 3, Twin Peaks open and confusing.
Of course he did. I thought it was really sweet that Inland Empire, not Invisible, Inland Empire. I thought it was sweet that Martin Scorsese had such praise for him.
Yeah,
he left a really nice
eulogy. I saw
that. Coming from Scorsese saying that he held him in such high regard, was really nice to see.
Yeah. Let me see here. I jumped ahead on 2 things I wanted to share. So let me get it back. All roads lead to Space 1999. For the folks out there, remember actor Freddie Jones, who actually just passed away not too long ago. He played Dr. Charles Logan in Journey to Where, second year episode, and he was Tarif Hawat in Dune. And then, of course, now there were many all roads lead to Star Trek with this movie. I just did the obvious one, which was obviously Sir Patrick Stewart is obviously Captain Jean-Luc Picard, but he was also Gurney Halleck in Dune. Also, Brad Dourif played Peter D. Rise in Dune, and he was a Betazoid in 3 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. Virginia Madsen also was in Star Trek Voyager. Dean Stockwell had appeared in Star Trek Enterprise, which is only appropriate since he worked with Scott Bakula on Quantum Leap. So I just wanted to share that. And there you go. And I'm sorry, Ross, any last words? And then I'm going to go to the shout outs.
No, I just feel like I having a hard time stringing things together tonight. But oh yeah, that's what I did hear that Stanley Kubrick liked Eraserhead. Yeah.
Matt said Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. Yeah, Blue Velvet's probably my favorite too of the movies.
And he said Twin Peaks to Return.
Yeah, I've not seen that yet. I'm going to see it though. I want to see that, the Twin Peaks series.
Saying Blue Velvet, best movie.
Yeah, I thought so too. But
so anyway, as we wind down, if you have any last minute comments you want to put into the chat, please do so. We'll come back. And what I'm going to do is just do the shout out portion of the show. I'm going to go through these relatively quick. So bringing you creative awareness through our shout outs. So I want to give a shout out to the Country Gate players in Belvedere, New Jersey. If you are a fan of theater and you are local, you will definitely want to check out Country Gate's latest show that is going to be actually a murder mystery production. And actually they're rehearsing tonight. And it is going to be Murder at the Bingo Hall. And that is taking place on February 8th. And doors open at 6 p.m. and is going to be at the Belvedere Manor. And the cast and crew will be from Country Gate players. And this is headed by my friend Bill Scarrato. And if you want to get tickets, you can call. The number is 610-248-7285. Must be 21. And it should definitely be a fun show. So definitely check that out. And again, for information in regards to Country Gate, you can go to www.countrygate.org. Or you can also go to Bill's website, which Bill does post information on, which is www.billscarrato.com. Also, I want to give a shout out to my friends Mike and Mary Beth from Sci-Fi Distilled. They are on Wednesday nights, and they are at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not sure what they're going to be doing. Their next show is going to be January 29th. So stay tuned. You can check out their Facebook page as far as what they will be covering. And also, my friend Captain Phil from Captain Phil's Planet. He is WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. And the captain's schedule is on, rotating Thursday afternoons from 4 to 5 p.m. He is also on Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so check out the captain. And also want to give a shout out to my friend Jeffrey Morris, who is working on and is completed. Really, the film is in pre-production. It is going to be released in 2025, but 2025 is here and will be released this year. So for information in regards to the Eagle Obsession documentary, you can go to the website, which is www.eagledocumentary.com for updates. And also, my friend Lou, who was out there earlier, want to say hi to Lou. And Lou actually just completed a film which is called Found in Space. It's the latest film, and it is available for streaming on YouTube. And definitely was fun to be a part of this production. So definitely check it out. If Lou is out there, I'll have him share the URL in the chat section so you can check out the film. And again, that is called Found in Space. And also, if you are a Star Trek fan, which I'm sure a lot of folks out there are, William Shatner will be back to the Star Trek Original Series set tour this June. He's going to be up there June 27th and 28th, which is a Friday and Saturday. For information regarding this, the Original Series set tour and William Shatner being there in regards to tickets and information, you can go to www.startrektour.com. If you have never, ever been up there, you definitely want to check it out. It is amazing what James Coley has done in regards to the recreation of the original Star Trek series sets. It is like being back at Desilu Studios from 1966 to 1969. And also, I just want to share the podcast that Warren Friedrich and I are doing. We do this. It's released once a week. And we are going to be doing, the latest episode is going to be recorded tomorrow, and it will be released on Sunday. And it is year one, episode 14, Death's Other Dominion. And my friend Warren and I have actually had a lot of fun putting this together. It has been really cool, and it is a progression through we're actually more than halfway through the first season of Space 1999. So we just did Collision Course last week, so we pressed the halfway mark. So definitely check it out in regards to that. And we have guest hosts on with us. So again, this will be released this Sunday, which will be the 26th of January. So stay tuned for that. And also, I want to give a shout out to my son, Ryan, who I'm incredibly proud of. He does Run by Ryan, and it is a site that can give you information as far as tips in regards to athletic tips, as far as running and coaching. And the site information is www.runbyryan.com. There is no cost associated with registering. If you do, there are different levels that you can sign up for, but definitely check his website out, and you will not be disappointed. And also, I want to give a shout out to Martha for Studio One Thrift. Martha started this online service with Studio One Thrift, and now she has a physical store location. And Studio One Thrift showcases their lineup for all seasons, all year long. Quality, stylish, affordable clothing for both men and women. You can receive styling tips, but you must register. And the URL for that is www.studioonethrift.com. Definitely check it out. And then Ross, if you can let everybody know what you got going on.
Well, these are my 3 recorded shows. Picture Perfect is on right now, and I'm probably playing music from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon right now. It's all music about movies set along the Silk Road. So that's on right as we speak here. Sweetness and Light, which is my light music show, airs tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And The Lost Chord is unusual and neglected classical music, and that airs Saturdays at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And tomorrow night I'll be playing some Spanish classics. So unknown things, though, forgotten Spanish classics, we should say. I guess they're not classics. They're unusual and neglected Spanish music on The Lost Chord. I'll tease them on my Facebook page, as I always do on the day the shows air. My page is Classic Ross Amico, my Facebook page. So I hope you follow me there. The shows air on KWAX, but you can listen to them wherever you are by streaming them at the link. Thanks, Roy.
Oh, absolutely, Ross. Thank you. And just to let everybody know, is talking about Jeffrey Morris, and Jeffrey Morris will be joining me this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is going to be Sunday, January 26th, to talk about the documentary that he has produced, and that is The Eagle Obsession. So definitely tune in this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I welcome back Jeffrey Morris. So that'll be a fun discussion talking about The Eagle Obsession. So stay tuned for that. And the other thing I would like to say is, if you have, I want to just say thanks for the people that have joined the show for the first time. Appreciate it. And I'm seeing that for the Soulcraft, he said his name is Kirk. So Kirk, thank you for joining. Much appreciated. If you haven't already, please subscribe on YouTube to the show. There is no cost associated with that. And also, please like us and follow us on Facebook as well, too. I'd really appreciate it if you are on Facebook. And that goes for everybody else out there. If you have not done so already, we're just trying to promote the show, get the awareness out. Definitely need to do a lot more marketing in regards to that. But please spread the word or share the show. And it's, again, very, very much appreciated. And well, here we are, Ross. Episode 251. And
phoning it in. Yeah. Special guest host Jose Ferrer as the Emperor. Yeah.
But no, this was definitely it was an interesting film to discuss. Like I said, I had never seen it before. I pretty much, it was always like, oh, I got to check out Dune. And I just never did. So I'm glad, as I always like to say, doing this show gives the opportunity to learn about different things and different films or television shows that have never been experienced before. So it's always fun doing that with you, especially with your extensive knowledge as well, too. And we kind of brought it together.
I was interested in going back and seeing it myself. I hadn't seen it in 40 years. So
wow.
So it was an opportunity to go back and revisit it. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you always, as always, Ross. And we've got some cool stuff coming up in the months ahead. And stay tuned. Probably do a couple. I did a preview video. I think it was last week I did that. So I'm going to try to do those a little bit more, just for like about maybe 7-10 minutes, because those are fun to get out there, just so folks know what's going on. And we appreciate the camaraderie that we have with everybody too. Right, Ross? Drink.
We don't do anything crazy like that anymore.
Yeah, like going through drive-thrus when the power goes out and broadcasting live in the car.
Shaving beards on camera. And...
Shaving your COVID beer on camera. Yeah. Stuff like that. We got to get back to our Letterman days, Ross.
I know. We're coasting. We're on our laurels, Roy. We're getting stale.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Thank you so much, Kirk, for doing that. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. So thank you. And you're welcome, Lou. And thanks for sharing that with everybody. And again, thank you, everybody. Very much appreciated. And we hope to see you on Sunday, again, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, as I always like to say, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.